We are not beholden to this government. They are beholden to us. They work for us, folks. Just remember that. If you remember that, we cannot fail. The Durham Report. I told you so. I told you 5 years ago. I mean, this is absolutely what I was witnessing when I first started actually breaking stories on what was going on between President Trump and actually so much more than 5 years ago. I'm like lost for time now. I'm going to go back to 2016 was when I first stumbled onto this bizarre, more bizarre than the reporters crying that President Trump won, but these bizarre, I thought at first, rumors that I was hearing from some sources that people within the Trump administration were being targeted. People like Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and others. And I do remember, several times talking to sources within the FBI, others within the intelligence community, just on the surface level, nothing classified, but that there was this growing feeling. There was this anger. They were enraged, some of the officials, at the fact that President Trump had won the election. Fair and square. He won it fair and square. But Hillary Clinton had a plan. In the Durham Report, it's called the Clinton Plan. And this is what blows my mind. And we are going to go into this in detail. But Hillary Clinton wanted to divert attention away from all of her own criminal activity with the Clinton Foundation and all the investigations that were going on regarding her and her husband pocketing money from other countries, moving it through the foundation, the alleged pocketing of money, and all of the investigations. And there were significant investigations that were being conducted by the FBI that basically got shut down. They got shut down. But she needed a diversion. And her diversion was this weird, bizarre Russia collusion case that she put together that actually was pretty brilliant. It had multi-levels. She was using Fusion GPS, which was a private security and disinformation firm outside of it was inside the United States, but used sources like Christopher Steele, a British spy that was hired to basically write the dodgy dossier. She used Charles Dolan, who had worked for her, who, by the way, was the source on the PP tapes in Christopher Steele's dossier. He was paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, by the way. And that's an absolute fact. We not only reported that, but the Washington Post actually reported that as well. This is how convoluted it all was. And they expected it to be so convoluted, and they still do, that they expect the American people to just say, oh, you know what? I can't figure this out. I'm just going to forget about it. I'm going to forget about it, or I'm not going to pay attention to it. They think you're stupid. They think I'm stupid. They don't think that they'll ever be held accountable. And maybe they won't. There is a way to hold them accountable, but that's only if the Republican Party decides to do it. And I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to talk to you about how criminal this was and is, and why they're still getting away with it. And I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment. But first, folks, I've told you this over and over again. Please, please diversify your money. Do whatever you have to do. Do the research yourself. Make sure that you are protecting you and your family and your family's future, right? Because, well, heck, look at what's happened in our country right now, right? And Allegiance Gold is a sponsor of the Sara Carter Show. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of this show and making it possible for me to do this, right? But Allegiance Gold is also AAA rated by the Better Business Bureau. It's got 5 stars with TrustLink. It is AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance. And I mean, you can't ask for more. You cannot ask for more. And right now they'll give you $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. And not only that, they'll not only help protect your IRA and your 401k, but they'll deliver the silver, the gold securely and right to your door. Securely right to your door. So get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. So don't wait. Call or click today. Don't wait. Call or click today. 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, SARA, or go to protectwithsara.com. We can't control the Biden administration, folks, but we can protect and we can prepare ourselves. 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, no H, or protectwithsara.com. So here's what we know is that nobody has paid the price. And it's infuriating to me. I want you to remember why Andy McCabe was first fired. Maybe some of you don't even remember this. Andy McCabe was the second in command over there. He was the assistant deputy director of the FBI. And he was called out by the inspector general who done this. Michael Horowitz had done this deep dive into what McCabe was doing. This is going way back to 2018. So in March 2018, he was fired. The report from the inspector general concluded that he repeatedly lied when he asked about information regarding a leak and the FBI's efforts to look into the finances of the Clinton Foundation in 2016. So we know that the Clinton Foundation was being investigated. We know that nothing ever happened. We know that there was a lot of suspicion and a lot of sources that I have spoken with, Patrick Byrne being one of them, and others that have been very open about the fact that they believe there was a lot of malfeasance at that time with Hillary Clinton. And this is just Hillary Clinton. We're not even talking about Biden yet. And all the craziness with the Biden family and the money that the Bidens have pocketed from China, or as Miranda Devine calls it, the 51 dirty intel agents that signed onto that letter that told America that the laptop from hell, Hunter Biden's laptop with all of the information and nude pictures of him and all the breakdown of the family financing and all of that was Russian disinformation again. Remember what I said in my last podcast? Remember how I talked about how they are trained, intelligence officials, how intelligence officials are trained. They admit nothing. They deny everything. They demand for proof. They make counter accusations, and then they blame someone else. This is what they do. But they're doing it to us, the American people, and they're doing it to a president of these United States that was duly elected. I don't care how you feel about President Trump. Honestly, I really don't. You could love him, you can hate him. I personally like the guy. I think he's been very honest with me. He's been very straightforward. I remember one time speaking to him. This was like 2017 or 18. And we were just talking. And I remember he's like, I don't even know. Russia, what? I don't know anything about Russia. He didn't know anything about Russia. It's amazing, though, how much of a connection the Clintons had with Russia. But what blows my mind is that you'll see these reports and other news agencies will write about it. They'll write about it and try to bury it, right? Because they don't make a big deal about it. I mean, if President Trump and his family would have pocketed, $750,000 in speeches from China, a company connected to the Chinese Communist Party, and $500,000 from a bank connected directly with the KGB, I think we would have a problem. Mission control, we have a problem, right? Biden is pocketing all this money, and I'm going to get back to the Durham report, but I want you to understand what is going on here. Our country appears to be compromised. It is compromised. Because I can't understand how Hillary Clinton set up a duly elected president, tried to interfere in an election, utilizing her allies in the FBI and the CIA. And then when she didn't win and she was crying at the Javits Center, she started making her phone calls with all of her cronies and targeted President Trump, utilizing the bureaucracy of the United States of America to target him. And during that entire time, it was like, I mean, Devin Nunes, he was the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Amazing, amazing work that he did and his team did. Kash Patel was part of that team. But so was I, and I remember John Solomon, and there were people that didn't even believe us. I remember walking in sometimes to the green room at Fox, and people would say to me, man, I hope you're right. I hope you're right about Trump. I hope you're right, because if you're not, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your career. And I said, I know I'm right because I have sources and I've seen the evidence, and because it's right there in our face. It's like losing the keys, right, to your car and then realizing an hour later they were sitting right on the desk. I'm like, how can you all not see this? How can you all not see this? And then you have Andy McCabe, right? Andy McCabe, second in command at the FBI, lying to the inspector general. You have, Comey, the head of the FBI, signing off on warrants, signing off. You have the FISA court getting submitted, Kevin Kleinsmith, basically changing documentation so that he can spy on Carter Page. And it wasn't about Carter Page, guys. Carter Page was a big part of it. And I love Carter Page. He's a great guy. I know him well, a friend. They destroyed his life. They did. They outed him. Carter Page was actually doing a lot of work for our U.S. intelligence as well. And the CIA, there were people within the CIA that reached out to the FBI and said, whoa, stop. Don't spy on this guy. Because guess what? He helps us. He's a good guy. He's not a bad guy. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. Hillary Clinton, she was vindictive. She wanted to destroy Trump. She wanted to destroy the entire apparatus around Trump. Everyone, anybody and anyone around him. And by the way, it wasn't just her. It was our government. Because guess what? Because Trump wasn't buying their bullshit anymore. President Trump could see through all their bullshit. President Trump could see the abuse of power. He could see that we were wastefully spending money. He's a businessman. He didn't maybe understand the whole minutia of Washington or how Washington worked. And he may not have been graceful in the dignitary ways of Washington. He may not have been a great liar in chief, which is what we have right now, the great liar in chief. But he did understand people. And he did understand, and he does understand business. And he looked across the board and he was like, well, what the F is going on here? You know, and I know people have brought this story up before, but it was like when Trump was sitting in the Oval Office, right? And, you know, he had made that promise. He was going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, recognize Jerusalem, recognize it for once. Every single US president had promised that. And then Trump's like, okay, so when are we going to move that embassy, to Jerusalem? And everybody's like, yeah, I know you said it, but guess what? We don't want to start World War III. Better back away from that. Let's just not bring that up anymore. And he was like, yeah, no, I made a promise to the American people. I'm going to do it. And not only that, I'm going to do it for a quarter of the price that these other people were going to rip us off for. That's what he did. You don't need to like him, but that's what he did. And he stripped away the facade of Washington because there is such a facade to be stripped away, folks. It is unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't even sleep last night thinking about what has happened to our country. What is happening to this beautiful country that we have sacrificed blood and sweat and tears, both good history and bad history, that when I walk through Arlington, all of those that gave their lives to protect this great nation from before the revolution, right? That should mean something. That should not be a lie. All of our veterans who are wounded, all of those who have sacrificed so much, families, everyone, For crying out loud, the people working in the coal mines in West Virginia, the ladies in the restaurant, the men in the restaurant, the people in our hospitals, whoever, whatever, wherever you are, whatever pronoun you want to use, I don't care. Whatever that is. We together have something so precious and so special. These monsters in Washington, these bad guys, they should not be allowed to get away with this. All you have to do is go through some of the conclusions in the Durham report. And I'm not going to read it all to you, but Durham was very, very straightforward. That they did not follow the law, that the FBI failed in its fiduciary responsibilities, that the Clintons were manipulating the whole dang thing, that President Trump was in no way in cahoots with the Russians. In fact, let me tell you a quick story before I go to Mike Lindell and tell you about how awesome his pillows are and everything. I remember when I was covering the story in 2016 during the campaign, I have a source that is not from the United States of America. They are Western intelligence. They work overseas, and they were very familiar with like what Russia was going through at that time, mainly because they had been to the embassy here in Washington, D.C. quite often, and they were hearing reports. And I said, well, what are you hearing? How do they feel? You know, are you hearing anything about President Trump? Anything of that nature? They said, well, about then candidate Trump, candidate Donald J. Trump. And they said, yes. In fact, the sources that I've been talking to, they said, that included then the then ambassador, Kislyak, I think was his name, Ambassador Kislyak from Russia. They were concerned because they don't know how to gauge him. He's kind of like unpredictable was the word that they used. There was a little bit of concern. They totally had Hillary down pat. They knew what she was all about, right? They knew, yeah, flash a little bit of dollars, it's all good, right? And maybe she, has a lot of experience in politics, but I think it's all on the bad side of things, right? But President Trump was an unknown to the Russians, really an unknown to the Russians. And they were concerned and they were worried. I truly believe when President Trump says, I don't think Russia would have made an aggressive move on Ukraine had I been in office, I absolutely believe that to be true. Because I do believe that he is an unknown to them and they didn't know how he would react. Nothing has benefited our adversaries more, nothing, than having President Biden in office. Everything that the left has accused the right of is exactly what they're doing. They did that. They made counter accusations. They were doing it, and then they figured, you know what? Why not just blame Trump for it? And remember, Charles Dolan, he was a liar. In fact, he never even talked to anyone at that hotel where at the presidential suite where supposedly all that weird pee-pee tape, and Christopher Steele was a former spy for MI6 in Great Britain, wrote this cockamamie report based off of two sources, a Russian, Igor Danchenko, and Charles Dolan. Really, that was pretty much his sourcing on the entire ridiculous dossier. And I have to play this clip.
Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped. And it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI. And to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
I'm going to tell you, it does exonerate Donald Trump, not to a degree. It exonerates him. He had nothing to do with Russia. In fact, nothing at all. But I want to say something to Jake Tapper here. Jake Tapper was one of the original sources on outing the PP tape, right? The whole thing about the crazy dossier. And that was in 2017. And what happened was Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, because they're in cahoots. And by the way, I used to hear they would always sneak away and have a lunch. And I won't disclose the name of the restaurant because I loved this restaurant, but it was an Italian restaurant in McLean, Virginia. I'm just going to throw that out there. And that people would see them eating, during this time together. So I always thought that they were like, eating bolognese and, like The Godfather, this is how we're going to get them. We're going to get them. We're going to eat our spaghetti, and then we're going to call the Russians, and we're going to set them up. And you have a lot of sources there, Clapper. What do you think? And then Clapper goes, you know what? Let's brief President Trump on the pee-pee tape, on this whole rumor about the pee-pee tape, because nobody in Washington, nobody, no reporter ever wanted to write that story. We all heard about this stupid dossier. It was flying all over the place. And nobody was like, everybody's like, no, I'm not going to touch it because it's not valid. So guess what they did? We're going to give Trump a briefing on the most salacious parts of this dossier. And then we're going to have Clapper leak it to Jake Tapper. Clapper and Tapper. You couldn't have asked for a more comical routine. So Clapper then goes to, according to, and this is allegedly, but according to congressional records, and I'm going to say congressional testimony that came out and information, quote unquote, that is out there, Clapper went to Tapper and was like, oh, we just briefed the president on in January 2017 on this dossier from Christopher Steele that basically lays out all of these things. And Tapper went ahead and reported it for CNN. And then BuzzFeed, which now has fallen apart and filed bankruptcy and lost everything, BuzzFeed published the whole thing because they needed that information to be in the public. They wanted to destroy President Trump. They knew they were lying. See what I mean? They all know they're lying. They know they're lying to you. They don't have any respect for you. They don't have any respect for you. This is why you need, and this is a peaceful thing that we can all do as Americans, contact your lawmakers and tell them absolutely do not fund these agencies until they clean house, and make sure our lawmakers do that. Hold them to it. Jim Jordan said that was one of the things that they were planning on doing is, tightening the budget. They don't need to be spying on everyone. They don't need to be collecting dossiers on all of us. I don't give a shit if they have that capability. They've never really even caught a terrorist with that. I'm telling you the truth. They never really have. Look at all the testimony. Even FBI provided before Congress information. Don't let them have access to it. Sorry if your job's going to be harder now. But they need to clean up their mess. They need to clean up their mess. And they need to use MyPillow towels to do it, because Mike Lindell is an American hero who isn't afraid to stand up to the, and that's regardless what you think about him, but he's not afraid to speak his mind, to say what he wants to say, to do what he needs to do. This is America. We should not be going to jail or facing the scrutiny of the FBI because we have an opinion about our government, right? So get out there. Let's support American products. Let's get My Pillow 2.0s. Let's get those on those soft pillows that are cool to the touch. They feel so great. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com and use promo code Carter. That's CARTER, mypillow.com. Promo code Carter. We're going to get some Mike Lindell towels to clean up our country. And for a limited time, when you buy one MyPillow 2.0, you get another one free with promo code Carter. Go to mypillow.com for MyPillow 2.0, buy one, get one pricing, plus discounts on your favorite MyPillow products like towels, sheets, slippers, and more by using promo code Carter. Stay cool and sleep better with the MyPillow 2.0 buy one, get one free sale going on now at mypillow.com, promo code Carter. mypillow.com, promo code Carter. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you love fearless journalism that follows facts wherever it leads, follow me. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere you get your podcasts, download them, and here on YouTube and Rumble. It really does make a difference. Thank you. So we know that John Durham did not recommend any prosecutions, no institutional changes, that Christopher Wray, who is now head of the FBI, came out with that cockamamie statement saying, we're all better now. We're never going to do it again, I promise. I don't buy it for 1 second. I am scared for our nation. I am scared for its future because it will require every single one of us to speak up and say that this is unacceptable. And you are just that important. You really are. Every single member of your family, you yourself, every person you know in your community, you are that important. Sometimes I think we forget how important we really are to this beautiful nation. We are the lifeblood of this country. We are what makes it so rich and so beautiful and so divine, right? We are from all over the world and we are all the same people because every single one of us at one point or another, our families or us, came to this nation to be free and to have a government that represents us, right? We are not beholden to this government. They are beholden to us. They work for us, folks. Just remember that. If you remember that, we cannot fail. If you remember that, we cannot fail. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless John Durham next week when he testifies before Congress, because it's going to be a doozy. And God bless the great state of Texas.